Yo, everybody has been waiting for months for America's strategic Bitcoin reserve to be announced. There's going to be a major announcement July 22nd. That's tomorrow. But if you watch what Trump is doing with his money privately, you might just get a little hint of what is about to happen. Today, we're going to expose some data that proves that the U.S. Strategic Reserve is closer than you think. I mean, we do have the president of these United States saying some very, very nice things about Bitcoin. And, you know, I'll let the data speak for itself. So let's get on to it. If I can find it. Where is it? Here it is. So President Trump posted this on Truth Social. I think it was yesterday. And he posted a clip of, you know, this has been circulating around X for many years now, of Nouriel Roubini and then the representative from Coin Center. And it was like a 15-minute testimonial. And then Trump says, quote, greatest Bitcoin explanation of all time, right? And then you're like wondering, like, you know, why is that the case? We always talk about Bitcoin. We always talk about the alignment of incentives. That's the beauty of Bitcoin. So when Larry Fink wants number to go up and when the president wants number to go up because they're all holding bags, right? It aligns incentive structures, and that is completely different with fiat. Fiat is a winner takes all. So like there's beneficiaries and everyone else loses. What's awesome about Bitcoin is that everybody could win. That sounds surreal. If you're coming from the fiat system, that does not compute in your mind, right? Even though Michael Saylor might have 600,000 coins, you know, someone who's holding 0.01 from a percentage basis is going to benefit equally as Bitcoin goes up in value, right? So that's something to keep in mind, is the aligned incentives of Bitcoin. And what the president is signaling, and again, is it a coincidence that it's a day or a couple days before this major announcement that's going to happen July 22nd? I don't know. I just don't see that as a coincidence. Let's check out this clip. I believe this was from when the Genius Act was signed. So again, you guys are going to do really well. And again, he's putting his money where his mouth is. Breaking news, and this is a legit journalist she was former Fox Business. Now she's with Crypto America. And she says, quote, breaking news, Trump media says it now holds around $2 billion in BTC and Bitcoin-related securities, about 2/3 of its $3 billion in liquid assets, as part of its previously announced Bitcoin treasury strategy.
Oh, it said no audio. I don't think they heard the clip, but whatever.
Oh, okay. Basically, Trump was basically saying, like, you guys are going to all do extremely well, and, you know, we're very proud, like, how far the industry has come. Remember, you guys, another thing that I wanted to, like, sprinkle into this is our industry was under attack for 4 years during the previous administration. And remember, in Washington, D.C., if you're not in the room, you're not in the deal. And the Bitcoin and digital assets industry was not in the room for basically all of its existence. But under the previous administration, they tried to basically destroy our industry with 1,000 regulatory slashes, right? And that galvanized us. Like, you guys saw it. If you guys have been watching Simply Bitcoin for months, like, Opti and I were basically like, you know, like, let's stay political. Like, let's not, you know, throw our hat in the ring. And then as soon as they arrested the Samurai Wallet developers, Opti and I are like, you should go out and vote for RFK or President Trump. Why? Because he's pro-Bitcoin, right? So it kind of forced us to throw our hat in the ring. And the reason this is important is because of the amount of money that was raised for the Trump campaign by the Bitcoin and digital assets industry. All of a sudden, he kind of owes us a little bit, right? We are part, like, as much as you guys might not want to hear this or not, we became essentially a lobbying arm for our industry, right? And we have the ear of the president. And not only do we have the ear of the president is buying Bitcoin himself, right? And do you think that this is a coincidence that this is happening, a couple days before the official announcement that's going to be happening in July 22nd? Maybe. Maybe it's just a coincidence. Maybe it's just a coincidence that he's just posting greatest Bitcoin explanation of all time. Maybe if it's just a coincidence that he's announcing that, hey, they're buying $2 billion worth of Bitcoin. Maybe that's a coincidence. Maybe it's a coincidence that the SEC chair, Paul Atkins, says U.S. government has effectively given Bitcoin a stamp of approval. I don't know if the volume's going to play, but I'm just going to leave the video playing in the background. But that's what he's saying here. Like the SEC chairman, remember the SEC was super hostile towards our industry not too long ago. And now the SEC is basically saying, hey, there's a rubber stamp. And we've been saying that for a while now, by the way. Stamp of approval by the most powerful country on the face of the planet, economically, militarily. You can make an argument for culturally, right? America has a very strong culture that, is well known all around the world. And the U.S. government is basically saying, you know what? Bitcoin is good. They're dropping the Tornado Cash case. The Treasury did. It's still, there's still an open court case with the DOJ, but the Treasury basically said no. So the Treasury's acting very, very favorably towards Bitcoin. And simultaneously, while all of this is happening, we're going to talk about this during the numbers, they're being very aggressive towards a certain institution. You know what that institution is? The Federal Reserve. There's representatives now openly calling for the arrest, for a criminal investigation into Jerome Powell. Senator Cynthia Lummis, the Bitcoin senator, has been openly calling for the resignation of Jerome Powell. And why is all this happening? Well, again, the Fed did not act independently. It didn't act neutrally under the Biden administration. It was part of Operation Choke Point 2.0 to essentially destroy our industry. And now all of a sudden, during the Trump administration, it seems like they're still resisting. I had the honor of having Caitlin Long on the show, CEO and founder of Custodia Bank based out of Wyoming, one of the first Bitcoin native banks in the United States. And she's basically telling me, she's like, look, like it was a hit job. Like they really wanted to take us out. Signature Bank didn't have to go out of business. They were specifically targeting the Bitcoin and digital assets industry on purpose, right? That is gnarly. And what we just found out when I'm going to pass it on to Opti is apparently it seems like the Biden administration sold a whole lot of Bitcoin, and shout out to, what's the name of the journalist? Lola Leitz, right?
Lola Leitz, yeah.
Lola Leitz, because David Bailey, founder of Bitcoin Magazine and Nakamoto, basically put out a bounty. And because remember, there is an executive order by Donald Trump in the beginning of the year asking, hey, how much Bitcoin does the federal government have? We still don't know. Officially, that still hasn't been told to us. But what Lola Leitz did is she submitted a Freedom of Information Act, and she got the numbers from the U.S. Marshal Service. And apparently the U.S. government has I think it's a significantly less portion of the amount of Bitcoin that they say they do. And there was rumors that were happening that Opti and I were reporting on during the election season that the Biden administration, which was openly hostile towards the industry, was actively selling Bitcoin. And remember when the price was kind of dumping back then, and we were like, what's happening? Why is this going? Why is this happening? It could have been that, right? And we've seen governments do this before. I mean, Germany sold, I think it was 50,000 Bitcoin at 50,000 or 60,000. Terrible, terrible decision. So yeah, I mean, this is pretty crazy. You have the president of the United States making a public announcement saying, look at this Bitcoin video, the best Bitcoin explanation that you can ever see. And his company, Trump Media, I know he's not officially involved because he's in the office of the presidency, but his sons are, just announced to the world that they have $3 billion worth of Bitcoin. And, Opti, if you can share the screen again, you have Paul Atkins, the head of the SEC, complete contrast to Gary Gensler, which in my opinion acted not in good faith, is basically saying, listen, Bitcoin has a stamp of approval by the U.S. government. Where do you think the number's gonna go? I'm gonna ask you that, guys. Where do you think the number's gonna go? Number's probably gonna go up. It's probably gonna go up and to the right. I'm just saying. So anyways, Opti, this is pretty breaking news, dude. This is pretty crazy. And you know what's the silver lining about like Biden acting politically and then them selling the Bitcoin is that the U.S. government's going to have to buy that Bitcoin back at a higher price. And what's that going to do? Pump the bags. So it's all about aligned incentives. American HODL had said one of the best quotes that stuck with me, which is, no one is better than their incentives. So let's break it down for a second. You have the president of the United States owning $3 billion worth of Bitcoin. You have the vice president of the United States owning $250,000 worth of Bitcoin. You have RFK Jr., who's part of the Trump administration, who said at Bitcoin 2024 that he has the majority of his assets in Bitcoin, right? You have basically all of the cabinet. You have Scott Bessent, Treasury Secretary, who might become Fed, who might become the chairman of the Federal Reserve, saying, Bitcoin's a good thing. Where do you think we're going to go from here? Like, I would not be surprised, conservatively, that by the end of Trump's second term, so 3.5 years from now, we are not at $500,000 per coin. I would not be surprised in the least, and that is conservative, because we still haven't seen the pump from all of this news. Mind you, in the beginning of the year, we were at $109,000 per coin. Right now, we're at $117,000 per coin. This has been the most bullish cycle from a news perspective. From a price action perspective, it hasn't reflected what the news has been showing. But like a beach ball that you put underwater, you could only do that for so long until number goes up, right? So I think we're on the verge of, an explosive price movement heading into Q3 and Q4. Again, not financial advice. That's my personal opinion based on Bitcoin's history. And the signal out of all this is that, again, the president of the United States just announced to the world that one of his companies that has his name has $3 billion worth of Bitcoin exposure. Do you think he's going to act against his bags? Do you think he's going to want his bags to go up? He's probably going to want his bags to go up, right? That's the breaking news. Massive news. Could have never have imagined this 3 or 4 years ago when we were getting attacked left and right. We were made fun of. Larry Fink was saying that Bitcoin is an index of money laundering, blah, 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 blah. Now you have, again, the president of the strongest country, most powerful country on the face of the planet saying, I just smash bought $3 billion worth of corn. Now, the next step is he taking self-custody of that corn? I don't know. We'll see. Anyways, Opti, what's your take on all this, bro? This is pretty crazy news, man. This is actually like massive, massive news, man. Because I think like before, like he like had exposure to like other digital assets. He didn't have exposure to Bitcoin. But this is like the first time that I see that he has direct exposure to actual Bitcoin. It's billions of dollars worth of exposure to Bitcoin.
Yeah, 100%. So for everyone in the chat wondering what's happening tomorrow, July 22nd, they're going to drop their first report, at like the state of their holdings, allegedly the state of their holdings, their whole strategic Bitcoin reserve kind of announcement. It was put into the executive orders that 180 days after they announced it, they would drop their report, and that is dropping tomorrow. So we really don't know what's happening in the report, but from what we do know, and actually rather from what we've seen Trump do this last year, he has been telegraphing a lot of his moves up front. Remember the whole, the market's going to be really good later today. And that was hilarious. Like, you guys should probably buy right now. And then the market started pumping. So this is all making a case for the idea that Trump has been telegraphing. If you really follow what he's saying, he has been kind of telegraphing all of his moves up front. Whether you like him or not, you kind of have to take what he says and take it very seriously. And right now, you know, of course, we're kind of maybe speculating, reading between the lines here, but it does seem like he's telegraphing his move. Of course, we saw him post the greatest Bitcoin explanation, which I think was probably like the first time we've seen a president or presidential candidate even do that. And it's like dropping it on his True Social account. So I think he's kind of laying the foundation for, you know, everyone on True Social, all of it, the MAGA people, to kind of get used to the idea of Bitcoin. And then today we get the Trump media announcing they bought $2 billion worth of Bitcoin. You know, it does seem like he's front running the strategic Bitcoin reserve announcement. And if this is what we kind of hear tomorrow, if this is the kind of the direction we're hearing tomorrow, and let's not forget the crypto week last week, they're pushing through these regulations, which some are arguing maybe it's not the best stuff we're seeing, but it is a historical moment here for the industry at large. I think maybe what we see tomorrow will be another historic announcement. And everyone's like, oh, the Bitcoin price is dumping. It's like, what? It's down 1%. We're at 117, like huge dump. It's over, guys. You know, why isn't the price pumping? I just think that a lot of times, especially right now where we're entering into the end of the year and everyone's kind of expecting a huge price pump, I think these signals are adding up to the direction that they're probably going to announce something big tomorrow, and we'll see exactly what that is. Will they announce their plan on how they're going to acquire this Bitcoin for the strategic, how much Bitcoin they actually have? And like Nico was saying, you know, shouts out to Lola Leeds and the U.S. Marshals Freedom of Information Act. You know, the news initially seems bearish, like, wow, they really only hold 28,000 coins. This is insane. You know, all of this posturing that they have the biggest Bitcoin holdings of any nation state is now complete fluff. But the real silver lining is if they don't have that much Bitcoin and they have to rebuy it, that sounds great to me.
Yeah, it sounds fantastic. And like Biden literally separated money from state. So I want to give him a credit. I want to give him a shout out for that. Obviously, you want Bitcoin in the hands of individuals in self-custody. You know, that's really how the world changes. But again, from a number go up perspective, you know, an announcement tomorrow. And I do want to cover the article because I'm glad someone brought that up. So what is happening tomorrow, July 22nd? And essentially, the White House to release a crypto policy report July 22nd following the Genius Act. The White House is set to release its first comprehensive cryptocurrency policy report on July 22nd, as mandated by Executive Order 14178. This report is expected to provide a detailed framework for the regulation and oversight of cryptocurrencies within the United States. The timing of the report is particularly noteworthy as it follows the recent approval of the Genius Act by the U.S. House of Representatives. This legislation, signed into law by President Trump on July 18th, establishes a regulatory framework specifically for payment stablecoins. The Genius Act defines stablecoins as digital assets used for payment or settlement and requires issuers to maintain a one-by-one reserve backing and comply with public disclosure obligations. This legislation exempts stablecoins from the definitions of the SEC or commodities, thereby removing the jurisdiction of the SEC and the CFTC. Instead, stablecoins will be regulated by entities such as the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation and the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency. So it continues to say, the release of the White House Crypto Policy Report is anticipated to provide further clarity on the regulatory framework for cryptocurrencies, building on the foundations established by the Genius Act. This report is expected to address key issues such as consumer protection, market integrity, and the role of digital assets in the broader financial system. As the U.S. continues to navigate the complexities and opportunities presented by cryptocurrencies, the White House policy report will be a pivotal step in shaping the future of digital asset regulation in the country. It's also been rumored as well is that they might bring up the fact of what their Bitcoin accumulation strategy is going to be. We keep hearing these words over and over again. It has to be done in a budget neutral way. So again, we're going to stay tuned for that report tomorrow. We're going to cover it. We're going to see if it's a nothing burger. But to kind of connect the dots a little bit, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not saying, you know, this is a sure thing, but usually when Trump posts things, they're not just by accident, you know?
He's telegraphing.
And he literally, the president of the United States literally said the greatest Bitcoin explanation of all time. And his company might be front running this announcement, buying $2 billion of Bitcoin exposure. So, I mean, it's you can't really say that's speculation, bro. Like that, you could build a very solid argument. We've been more right than we've been wrong, Opti. We're tomorrow's Bitcoin news today, bro. So I don't know. I don't feel guilty. I don't feel guilty saying this.
Yo, Daddy Trump, pump our bags, please.
We have V for Vendetta in the chat, bro. He's probably gonna give us.
He's mad. He said, "Stop simping for governments. It's weak."
But yes, guys, you should obviously take self custody. This is paper Bitcoin summer after all, so you guys should definitely take self custody of your Bitcoin.
Actually, I'm gonna talk about that in the culture today.
If it's not, if your Bitcoin's not in self custody, it ain't your Bitcoin. I do want to give a shout out to the live stream. 1,800 people watching live. Rumble seems to be popping off as well, so shout out to the Rumble stream. Love you guys over on Rumble. We love you guys over on YouTube. We love you guys over on X as well. We got 253 people watching live on Rumble, 524 people watching live on YouTube, and again, we got 1,400 of you guys watching live on X. If you guys are enjoying today's Simply Bitcoin Live, Opti and I are back in Miami after visiting the NASDAQ last week, which was absolutely crazy. So we're going to be bringing hot fire for you guys all of this week. Let's get the show started, guys. We're going to talk about a lot of things today. There's been this YouTube channel, which maybe a lot of you guys have seen, that it goes by the name of, can you make us full screen? But it goes by the name of Garry's Economics, and it's picking up a lot of steam, and he's talking about wealth inequality, which, by the way, I agree with him on. Where I disagree with him on is his solution to fixing that wealth inequality. So we're going to do a deep dive into that because I think it's important, because he is getting a lot of attention, a lot of traction on YouTube. So I think it's important to kind of have these discussions. Maybe his heart's in the right place. I don't really know him that well, but you know, he is getting a lot of attention. So we have to give another perspective. We have to give the perspective from the Bitcoiners angle. And then again, breaking news, Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna files criminal referral against Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell with the DOJ. That is nuts. So the fight is heating up between the Federal Reserve and, of course, the Trump administration. They're vying for power. They want the control of the money printer. And, of course, this institution might be captured and might be corrupted. We don't know. We're going to find out. Anyways, guys, it's going to be a great show. If you guys are enjoying the show so far, make sure to smash that like button. But before we get into the numbers segment, I do want to give a very, very extremely special shout out, of course, to Simply Bitcoin's lead sponsor, the best place to build your automatic self-custody Bitcoin stack. And, of course, I'm talking about bitcoinwell.com. To get started, all you have to do is go to bitcoinwell.com/simply. You scan the QR code on your screen, or you go to bitcoinwell.com/simply, and you get 3 tosses into the wishing well. I'm going to tell you what that is in just a second. But all you got to do is you put in your email address. It takes 2 to 5 minutes to get signed up and verified. Bam, bing, bam, boom. You're ready to buy automatic self-custody Bitcoin. Also, when you buy Bitcoin on Bitcoin Well, you earn something called Bitcoin Well points, and you could use those points towards the Bitcoin Wishing Well contest. You win sats every time you play if you use promo code bitcoinwell.com/simply. Oh, I don't know what happened there. Let's try it one more time. If you go to bitcoinwell.com/simply, you get 3 tosses into the wishing well. Every single toss, you have an opportunity to win up to 1 million Satoshis. First person to scan today's QR code has won 494 sats. If you're a higher net worth individual looking to buy $50,000 worth of Bitcoin or more, and you want a white glove service, you want a dedicated account representative every time you want to buy or sell Bitcoin, you want to go to bitcoinwell.com/OTC. Again, bitcoinwell.com/OTC. Set up a meeting with them today. And again, you're going to get a dedicated account representative every time you want to buy or sell Bitcoin. You have questions about Bitcoin. You have questions about self-custody. You're going to have an account rep dedicated to you, which you can call or text anytime. You want to smash buy. And when you smash buy, it goes automatically to your self-custody Bitcoin wallet address within 24 hours. What are you waiting for? Go to bitcoinwell.com/simply today. All right, everybody, let's get the show started. Here we go. Bam, bing, bam, boom.
I want to tell you guys about our sponsor, Stamp Seed. Is your Bitcoin in cold storage really secure? Are your seed words really secure? Stamp Seed's do-it-yourself kit has everything you'll need to hammer your seed words into commercial-grade titanium plates instead of writing them down on paper. Don't do that. Paper sucks. You want to literally stamp your seed into this plate of titanium. Your words are actually stamped into the metal plate with this hammer. So once your words are in, they aren't going anywhere. No risk of the plate breaking apart and your pieces falling everywhere. Titanium stamp seeds will survive nearly triple the heat produced by a house fire. They are also crush-proof, waterproof, non-corrosive, and most importantly, because this is generational wealth, time-proof. All things that paper is not, allowing you to hodl your Bitcoin for the long haul. I mean, here is the plate that they crushed. They put in water, they put a blowtorch to it, and as you can see, the words have survived. Stamp your seed on Stamp Seed. And you can use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on their store. Head over to stampseed.com today.
All right, everybody, we are back. Scan the QR code on your screen right now. It'll take you directly to the Stamp Seed website where you can use promo code SIMPLY. Again, promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on the site. I do want to give a shout out to the live stream. 2,100 of you guys watching live between YouTube and X and Rumble popping off, coming in strong. 240 people watching live on Rumble. At the time of recording, the Bitcoin price is 117,800. Block height 906,552. Sats per dollar 849 sats per dollar. Market cap 2.34 trillion. Bitcoin versus gold market cap 9.8%. Decline from all-time high, negative 4.4%. Opti, it went down. Look at that. I realized monetary inflation. I was getting worried because it went from like 0.83 to 0.85. It's back down again. I don't know what's happening. Maybe Yellow's changing the interest rates on Bitcoin. I don't know what's happening. Anyways.
It's paper Bitcoin.
So I saw this clip by Scott Bessent on Squawk Box. And again, he's going real hard. The Trump administration, some Republican representatives, that, like, I mean, check this out. They're calling for an investigation. Like, oof. Senator Lummis, of course, is calling for openly for for Jerome Powell to resign. And here's Scott Bessent, who looks to be favored to be, and I think this would be the second time in American history where the Treasury and the Fed chairman would be one and the same. And again, Jerome Powell, whether he gets fired or not, his term is very close to being up regardless. So let's check out this clip by Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, and then Opti and I are going to talk about it.
Look, Joe, I think that what we need to do is examine the entire Federal Reserve institution and whether they have been successful. I'm speaking, actually, I'm going to be in the building this evening. There is a regulatory conference that begins tomorrow. I'm the keynote speaker tonight talking about regulation. The Fed as well deals with monetary policy, regulations, financial stability. And again, I think that we should think, has the organization succeeded in its mission? You know, if this were the FAA and we were having this many mistakes, we would go back and look at why has this happened? I mean, look at as you said at the top of the at the top of this broadcast, there was fear mongering over tariffs, and thus far we have seen very little, if any, inflation. We've had great inflation numbers. So, I think this idea of them not being able to break out of a certain mindset, all these PhDs over there, I don't know what they do. This is like universal basic income for, academic economists.
Ladies and gentlemen, Simply Bitcoin, tomorrow's Bitcoin news today, bro. Oh my God. You had the Treasury Secretary just say, we have to examine if the Fed is actually even doing the job that they're supposed to be doing. Are they even, is this even working out? That would be unheard of 5 years ago, 10 years ago, right? It would be unheard of. And do you think it's a coincidence that this is happening when you have the first Bitcoin president who's holding $3 billion worth of Bitcoin bags? Do you think it's a coincidence that this is all happening at the same time? That you have the Treasury Secretary openly questioning the very idea of the Federal Reserve itself? Do you think that's a coincidence? It's not a coincidence. Do you know where this is heading? We've been saying, Opti and I have been saying, it's nice to have a pro-Bitcoin president. But you know what we want from the next president? We want an end the Fed president. And we're going to talk about wealth inequality during the news segment because it is a problem. It is a problem. It is a huge problem. Now, I think where there's differences of opinion is what is the solution to this problem? What caused this problem in the first place? Well, what caused the problem in the first place is the Federal Reserve, right? You have an institution that every time they print money, they destroy the wages of the lower and middle classes that don't have the means to save in assets. Therefore, when the money gets to base, their assets don't go up. Their salary and their savings, because they're saving in fiat, goes down. Their purchasing power goes down. And if you're very wealthy, or if you're rich, or if you have the privilege to own assets, guess what happens? Those assets go through the moon. So what happens to the middle class? What happens to the differences between the lower, middle classes, and upper classes? It gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Because the very wealthy, they start buying everything. They don't have a choice. If they have, let's say you're a founder. You just sold your company. You got $10 million, right? After taxes, you keep $6 million, right? You have no choice but to invest that money, because if you don't invest that money, it's going to lose purchasing power. So what are you going to do? You're either going to buy equities, you're going to buy real estate, or you're going to buy commodities. Why do you think you can't afford a home right now? I mean, Saylor said this on a podcast. Because if you're a rich guy, what are you doing? You're buying like 3 or 4 homes, not to use them, but just to park your wealth in them. That's how broken the system is, that it forces you to be an investor just to maintain your purchasing power. And most of us, we don't even have the means to even have the privilege of having extra savings to own assets in the first place. So it's time to end the Fed. It broke the system. Central banking failed. We gave it a go. It's been more than 100 years. The most horrific wars happened under central banking. The Great Depression happened under central banking. The Great Recession in 2008 happened during central banking. We were scammed. We didn't get a good deal out of this. And if you are a millennial, or if you're a Gen Zer, or you're a Gen Alpha, like it's even you got scammed essentially. So it's time to end the Fed. It's time to try something different. And I'm so glad that we have people that are in actual positions of power and influence. Of course, they have to say it in a certain way, that are basically saying, listen, cut the BS. You guys claimed you didn't want to lower rates because you were worried about the tariffs. Unemployment is so super low right now. Inflation is super low right now. There is absolutely no reason as to why you guys don't want to lower interest rates, except if it was for political reasons. Because guess what? If you have a pro-Bitcoin administration, your dream of having a CBDC, that might not happen, will it? Right? So anyways, that's my bit. Opti, how you doing, bro? What's your thoughts on this? Scott Bessent is based AF. Rustin was right.
Dude, big Bessent.
Rustin's going to lose his mind when he sees that clip, bro. I can't wait to hear Rustin's thoughts on it.
Yeah, Bessent is kind of the GOAT right now. I really like what I'm hearing from Scott Bessent. And look, we don't know the rumors if they're true or not, but they have been speculating that Scott Bessent is either vying to take Jerome Powell's seat or they're positioning him. And of course, these are all rumors. We have no idea. But I think if that were the case, and this would be the second time it happened, it might be actually really good. Now, that's like a totally different conversation. Just the conversation in and of itself of him in that clip and them attacking the Federal Reserve, or rather Jay Powell, and even basically saying, what's the Fed done? We got to reevaluate what they're doing. We got to, reevaluate their position. As we all saw last week, there was the whole scandal of them admitting that the Federal Reserve wasn't independent. What was it? Is the Federal Reserve independent a myth or whatever? Exposing the myth.
It was crazy because now that is getting confirmed by two separate industries. Yep. So the Bitcoin and digital assets industry is basically saying, look, the Fed has not been acting independently. It's been acting politically. We have the receipts, right? But now JP Morgan, an analyst from JP Morgan, the article, we read you guys the article, I believe it came out from Bloomberg actually, so it was a very reliable source, was basically saying, look, the idea that the Fed is independent is a myth, right? So you have two separate industries. You have TradFi and you have the digital assets industry basically saying the same exact thing, that the Federal Reserve is not independent.
Yeah, so, the fact we have this secretary or Treasury Secretary essentially saying what all of us Bitcoiners have been saying, I think is a huge 180 pivot from what we had last time with Janet Yellen. And, of course, the Atkins video, the new head of the SEC, is completely different than we saw from Garry Gensler. And a lot of this stuff going on right now, I know there's a lot of news and there's a lot of confusion of what actually is going on, but it does seem from an economic level, things maybe are kind of trending in the right direction, and it is hard to parse the information right now. Again, I'm a huge fan of what Tom Luongo has been saying, and it seems like a lot of the positioning we're seeing right now is to basically defund and bankrupt the city of London, which would be absolutely huge for everyone around the world. So, I'm holding. I didn't say that. I said that.
That is not Simply Bitcoin's official position.
That is as an individual here. But I think what we're seeing is it is a new paradigm here, whether you're like just a Bitcoiner or from like an economic perspective, from a more TradFi perspective, things are changing, and it is kind of making you wonder, like, what timeline are we on? Is this the good timeline, or are we, walking into our own right now? But from what I'm seeing, it seems like things are kind of going in a generally good direction from an economic perspective. Yes, there's a lot of cultural and societal upheaval right now, but from a Bitcoiner vantage point, I don't know, everything seems to be working in our directions. It does seem like we are winning, and I am not tired of it yet.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Wait. Before we go, Nico, shouts out to Mexico Hado. I'm not reading your first super chat. He dropped his two super chats, but the first one has shitcoins in it. But this one, $10. ¿Dónde está Sophie? Muchachos. She's on mom duties, bro.
Oh, man. All right, everybody. That Sophie Luke show did super well. We might have to...
Dude, we might have to retire.
We might have to retire. Just give
Sophie and Luke.
Luke and Sophie the reins. All right, everybody. We'll be right back. We're going to hit the news segment. We have tons to cover, and then Opti's got something cooked up for the culture segment. So you guys are going to want to stay tuned in. We got 2,500 of you guys watching live between X and YouTube. Almost 600 live viewers on YouTube and 300 live viewers on Rumble. If you guys are enjoying the show so far, smash that like button. Every smash helps with the algos. We're going to be right back in just a second. We're going to hit the news.
I want to give a shout out to our partner, Ledin, the leader in Bitcoin-backed loans. Unlock the liquidity in your Bitcoin without having to sell your Bitcoin. They've issued $9 billion in loans to over 10,000 customers since 2018. I absolutely love these guys. Not only do I have an account with them, but I also have a loan. And what I love about them is that there are no monthly payments, and you could pay back the loan at any time. As soon as you send your Bitcoin as collateral, you'll have cash in your account within 24 hours. Over 1,000 five-star customer reviews, and they've never lost a single dollar or sat of customer money. Go to learn.ledin.io/simply today, and you'll get 0.25% off your first loan. I want to give a shout out to our partner, sat123.com. Sovereignty isn't just about your money. It's about your communications too. When the grid goes down, most people go dark. Cell towers fail in hurricanes, cyber attacks, and blackouts. But satellite phones, they don't rely on local infrastructure. Iridium has 77 satellites in orbit, giving you a direct line anywhere in the US, even offshore. If you hold your own Bitcoin keys, you should hold your own comms too. Sat123.com also has everything you need to start building your Bitcoin citadel. Starlink, battery backups, Faraday bags to protect your hardware wallets, and much, much more. It's a one-stop shop for anyone serious about resilience and off-grid independence. Stay connected, stay independent, stay sovereign. Go to sat123.com/simply today and use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on the store. I want to give a shout out to our partner, Cold Card. If you're serious about self-custody, Cold Card is the best Bitcoin hardware wallet. There is no second best. The Cold Card Q is the ultimate air-gapped Bitcoin signing device, complete with a full keyboard, large screen, camera, NFC support, and much more. Do you prefer something sleeker? The MK4 is trusted by hardcore Bitcoiners around the world. Both are built by Bitcoiners for Bitcoiners, secure and open source. Simply Bitcoin viewers get 5% off with promo code SIMPLY. Take self-custody of your Bitcoin today with Cold Card.
All right, everybody, we are back. Scan the QR code on your screen right now. It'll take you directly to coldcard.com, where you can use promo code SIMPLY to get 5% off anything on the store. Cold Card is the leader in Bitcoin hardware wallets. They make the Cold Card Q and the MK4. They're fantastic signing devices. They have 2 security elements. They're completely open source. They make them see-through on purpose so that you can make sure no one's kind of messed with them. They have a variety of different colors. They got blue, green, jade. It's great. So go to coldcard.com today. Use promo code SIMPLY to get 5% off anything on the store. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's jump into today's news story. A lot on my feed. Goes by the name of Garry's Economics. As a content creator, he makes fantastic content. I got to give him credit where credit is due. Extremely well produced. The guy's charismatic. The guy knows how to talk. And his main argument and what he's all about, right, is he's making the argument that there is massive wealth inequality in society, which is true. But his solution to that is taxing the rich. That's his solution to it. And this is where I disagree. Reason I wanted to bring it up today too is he's made an anti-Bitcoin video. It got a ton of views. And he's also made a video where me and Opti were actually kind of watching this before the show started, called The Devaluation of Money. It's a 23-minute video. We were like 5 minutes in, and we still have no idea what he was saying. I did manage to get a quote, basically the quote that actually explained why money is devaluing. And he said, quote, "Economists want your money to get devalued." Okay, that's great. Now we have better money. We don't need economists. I don't care. And this goes back to the whole Keynesian thing, right? It's the whole Keynesian argument. If money doesn't get, if there's no inflation, people won't spend. That is BS. That's BS. Like, the idea that money has to lose purchasing power in order to function is ludicrous. The world should be naturally deflationary. That is the natural form of the free market. Go listen to the episode I did with Jeff Booth. It has 215,000 views right now. Go listen to it. It's on the Simply Bitcoin channel. Money should be naturally deflationary. But the reason it isn't deflationary is because of the manipulation of money by, you know who? The central banks. And you can make the argument governments as well. So, I like where his heart is. I like the fact that he's addressing wealth inequality. He did make a video on quote unquote crypto, where he essentially connects Bitcoin and crypto and NFTs, and he puts it basically all in one bag. And again, if you look at the production value of all this, it's fantastic, right? It's very well done. And he has charisma and all that stuff. And in this video, he basically says that Bitcoin isn't backed by anything, right? What's the dollar backed by, right? Like, if you're going to say Bitcoin isn't backed by anything, what is the dollar backed by, right? What is the dollar backed by? And the other argument too is you can't equate meme coins and layer one altcoins with Bitcoin. There's no equating any of them. They're not equal. NFTs isn't equal to Bitcoin. It's not putting it all in one go. So part of this video is correct, because if you do buy the cryptos, you are gambling in a way. And I would say the majority of people lose money. Some do make money gambling on cryptos. But what we advocate here for on Bitcoin, on Simply Bitcoin, is just buy Bitcoin, go about your day, do it for many years, and your life will get progressively cheaper over time, because you're saving and earning in money that is deflationary, regardless of where you are on the economic pyramid. It doesn't matter if you're on the lower class or in the middle class. If you switch to a money that's better, that protects your purchasing power, not only protects your purchasing power, increases your purchasing power, your life will get better over time. On Garry's channel, he talks a lot about the rise of housing. He talks a lot about wealth inequality. Let's address the housing aspect of it. If you've been saving in Bitcoin, housing has gotten cheaper, not more expensive. If you've been saving in fiat, housing has gotten significantly more expensive. So where I disagree with Garry, and I think, let me know if you guys could hear the sound on this. I'm going to play it. Here we go. No, I don't think they could hear it.
Send it to me. Let's see if I can.
Okay, but anyways, you guys could
send me the link. Send me the link.
You guys could read here. I'm gonna send Opti the link. I don't know what happened. Send Opti the link, but
send it in the whatever.
But essentially, he's making the argument that since the 1970s, his dad used to be able to live.
Let's see if this works.
Let me see.
The last 70 years are not normal, Stephen. The last 70 years are not normal. The last 70 years in Europe and the US, where ordinary people like my dad could work for the post office on less than average wage and buy a house and support a family, it's not normal. It's not normal in the world, and it's not normal in history. Most countries in the world are not like that. Most countries have a small super rich elite and a very...
So, okay.
Restream.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with the streaming software you're using today, but I'll have this playing in the background while I talk about it, and you guys could also read the subtitles. So he says basically, listen, the last 70 years are not normal. The last 70 years are not normal. The last 70 years in Europe and the US, where ordinary people like my dad could work for the post office on less than average wage and buy a house to support a family, it's not normal. It's not normal in the world. It's not normal in history.
They heard it on mine, but whatever. Keep
Most
going.
countries have a small, super rich elite, a very large group and a lot of extremely poor people. It's most of history. It's most of history in the U.S. You know, we talk about Charles Dickens, Hard Times. Okay, see, here's the thing, though. He's absolutely right. But you know what happened 70 years ago? I'll tell you what happened 70 years ago. What happened in 1971? What happened in 1971, everybody? This is what he's talking about. Wages have not increased. The wealth divide gets bigger. Wealth inequality gets bigger. So he's right. He's right. You can't just have a middle-class family on one wage living a middle-class life. Now you need two parents working, going out there, having to fiat mine just to maintain. And that shouldn't be the case because of the productivity and technological increases that we've seen over the last 70 years. So what happened in 1971? You know what happened in 1971? The fiat experiment started. The fiat experiment started. This is what happened in 1971. The fiat experiment started. The wealth inequality was caused by fiat. It was not caused by bad tax policy. And his solution also advocates for taxing the rich. The problem with taxing the rich is there's something called the Laffer curve. Essentially, the Laffer curve is there is a maximum point of which you can increase taxation. After that point, the revenue that you're going to raise from taxation starts to go down. Why? Because rich people won't pay it. They will leave the country. They will take their wealth with them. So there's only so much you can tax before they say, hey, I'm not paying that, I'm leaving. And what happens when rich people leave, there's no tax revenue. Because the very wealthy pay the lion's share of the taxes already. So anyways, moving back to this, I'm going to have this playing in the background. Because again, he has really good production. So his argument is, again, there's wealth inequality. He's 100% right. It's never been bigger as it is today. It's not just that our generations can't afford homes. Where I think he's completely wrong is his solution. His solution is to tax the rich. Like I said, the Laffer curve applies, and giving the government or giving the very institution more power, which is the very institution that caused this in the first place, I don't think is going to fix anything. So wealth inequality stems not from markets being too free, but from the manipulation of money itself. Fiat currency is designed to benefit those closest to the money printer: banks, governments, and the politically connected. Inflation, central bank bailouts, and debt monetization transfers purchasing power from the working class to asset holders. Bitcoin fixes this, not taxing the rich, by removing the central point of control. It's a hard deflationary currency with a fixed supply of 21 million coins. Unlike fiat, it cannot be debased. And if you are part of the lower and middle classes and you start saving a part of your net worth in Bitcoin, you will experience this. You will be able to afford the life that you want to live. It's not going to happen overnight. It's not a get-rich-quick scheme. This takes years of discipline, of stacking, of opting out of the system. But I promise you, you will start feeling the effects of deflation. You will start to see that your Bitcoin stack will have more and more purchasing power as time progresses, meaning it will be able to buy you more and more things. That is in stark contrast to fiat, which buys you less and less things over time. Taxing the rich, like Garry proposes, is a symptom treatment at best. It doesn't fix the root cause. A fiat system that enriches the top 0.1% via monetary inflation, asset bubbles, and cronyism. Worse, taxing the rich only empowers the same bloated, corrupt system that created the wealth inequality in the first place. We have to address what is the real issue here. The real issue is that inflation is the real theft. Inflation is the reason you cannot get ahead. Taxing people on the higher income bracket is a band-aid at best. And what has happened historically with every country that has implemented a wealth tax, you guessed it, the wealthy leave and they end up reversing that wealth tax. You have to address the issue. Now, what makes me suspicious, again, about Garry's economics, and I'll say this before I'll tell you guys my thoughts on that, is that you don't fix wealth inequality by giving more power to the system. You fix it by ending fiat money, and that's what Bitcoin does. And again, you don't have to wait for an election. You don't have to wait for a politician. You don't have to wait for a regulatory change. You can start living that deflationary life today. Today. You just have to choose to opt out. Buy spot Bitcoin, put it in self-custody. It doesn't matter if you own 0.01. That 0.01 Bitcoin is going to continue to increase in purchasing power over time. And if Michael Saylor's prediction comes true, about $13 million Bitcoin in 20 years, you can buy $13 million worth of purchasing power today for $100,000, essentially, give or take. Now, what makes about Garry's economics makes me suspicious, what gives me a little bit of hesitancy, is the fact that he talked badly about Bitcoin. That's what gives me hesitancy. What also gives me hesitancy is he didn't really give a really good explanation as to why money loses purchasing power. His explanation is economists want it to lose purchasing power. I have a better explanation. Money loses purchasing power because governments spend more than they collect in tax revenue, and they print the difference, and that debases the currency. Bitcoiners come up with the solution basically saying, listen, there's 21 million, you cannot debase it, you can opt in whenever you'd like. We already have a solution to this, and it's not going to the very system itself and saying, hey, we got to change this. We've tried wealth taxes in the past. They don't work. We've tried, like, the last century has shown how many different economic models have been tried and tested. They haven't worked. Like, certain economics work better than others. Other economic models work better than others. I would say today, what we have in society, I would say socialist economics, capitalist economics, but you know what? Under a fiat system, they're one and the same because you get crony capitalism. This is what you're experiencing right now. This is the wealth inequality. This is what it's causing it. It's the crony capitalism. The people that are closest to the money printer are benefiting from the system. So, of course, I would be pissed off too. And I think that's where his heart is in the right place. But his solution is wrong. And you don't have to wait for a change in government policy to start living the American dream. All you got to do is you opt out of that corrupt system entirely. You opt out of it. You say, you know what? Okay, I'll earn in dollars. I'll pay my taxes in dollars. That's great. But my savings, I'm going to have it in Bitcoin. I promise you your life will improve over time without any of this nonsense, because that's what I see this, and it's nonsense. When you actively attack the actual solution, you don't give Bitcoiners a choice but to respond to you. And we're responding, and we're saying, dude, listen, you're lost in the sauce, bro. Like, you call yourself an economist, but you have no idea what you're talking about. Taxing the rich isn't going to fix wealth inequality. Fixing the money is what's going to fix wealth inequality. Opti.
Bars. Yeah, so first of all, on Garry Stevenson, just like as a person, he went to the London School of Economics, and if you know what that school is, then you know it's not a good school. It is heavily tied with the World Economic Forum, so, you know, that's just like a glaring red flag there up front from my perspective. It's like instantaneously just disregard everything he's saying. And that doesn't even account for what he is saying. Literally, I was seeing this other video this morning about him trying to explain the housing unaffordability, and I watched, like, I don't know, 5-10 minutes of a 28-minute video, and he literally said nothing the whole time, and I'm like, I'm 10 minutes into this video and he hasn't said anything at all. And I'm like, what is going on here? So again, he is a fast talker. They do have really good production, but he's really not saying anything as far as like a Bitcoin or even an educated person is concerned. Now,
let me hijack this for a second. Okay. All right, guys, look, just so you know that, like, business. Okay. This is the average house in Bitcoin terms, right? How much Bitcoin it would cost you. In 2011, it's like 300,000 Bitcoin, right? Today, 2025, a house costs you 4.45 Bitcoin. 2020, a house would have cost you 20 Bitcoin. This is what we're talking about. Like, guys, like, I'm not going to sweet talk you and tell you this is whatever. The data's there. It's right there. And by the way, this applies to everything. This applies to food. This applies to cars. This applies to most stocks. I think NVIDIA is the only one that's outperformed Bitcoin. I'm sorry. Like, you're trying to come up with a solution within the system. The system is what created the problem in the first place. Bitcoiners are actually giving you a solution right now. And that channel has made a video attacking us, essentially. Basically saying, look, like, Bitcoin, it's not backed by anything. It's scam. Okay, bro, listen. Fine, it's not backed by anything. Look at the data. If you've been saving in Bitcoin, look. Okay, let's go back 10 years, right? 2015. A house used to cost you 1,161 Bitcoin. 1,161 Bitcoin back in 2015. Q3 of 2015. So exactly 10 years ago. Today, a house costs you 4.45 Bitcoin. What do you think a house is going to cost you 10 years from now in Bitcoin terms? The money is broken. It's not about the taxes. It's about the money. The money is broken. That's what it's all about. And if you fix the money, you fix everything else. And the beauty of Bitcoin is that you don't have to ask for permission. You could start just opting out right now. You could opt out right now. Go on Bitcoin Well. Buy yourself some Bitcoin, send it to your cold card, wait 4 years, wait 8 years. You're going to tell me, Nico, I love you. You're a genius. I'm going to say, I'm not a genius, dude. I just bought Bitcoin. You just bought Bitcoin. It's just better money. That's all it is, right? It comes down to that. All right, I'm done, bro. I'm done.
Yeah, no, great. Go off, King. Nico broke down the whole his bad economics here. So Gary's economics is just wrong. And I think the most nefarious aspect of what he's doing, it really goes down to like the really high production of his content. And he's really, maybe this is harsh, but he's scamming the rubes out there. Like the people that don't know what's going on, he is the one kind of like selling them a bad bag here, and it's actually horrible. Now, my biggest problem with Stevenson, Garry Stevenson, is I've heard him say at one time, essentially, like, give up hope. You have no hope for ever getting rich. Like, don't even try. And I'm like, what kind of advice is this at all? Like, the opposite of what we try to do here is, as we all know, go to hope.com. Bitcoin is hope. Like, there is an out here. There is a solution to this problem versus just trying stuff that we know doesn't work, like taxing the rich, or even worse, don't even try, bro. Like, you're never gonna get rich, you're never gonna get out of the middle class or lower middle class or out of poverty. Just don't even try. Like, it's not even worth trying. And you're like, what kind of financial advisor is this? It's like he's like the worst kind of snake oil salesman, where he's just telling people, hey, don't even try, man.
Look, again, maybe his heart's in the right place. I agree with you, by the way. The London School of Economics is known for certain ideological bents, to put it nicely. But we got to give him the benefit of the doubt, okay. Maybe his heart's in the right place, but I just think he's wrong. I think he's naive, and you don't have to wait for a regulatory change or anything. You can start living a deflationary life today. If you opt out of the system, you buy Bitcoin and you put it in self-custody, and that's all you have to do. I'm not, again, it's not crazy. It's not radical. It's not a great change in your life. You just opt out. You say, look, this is great. Like, fiat. All right, dude, you have fun. I love you, bro. It's great to know you. It was fun, but now I got Bitcoin, right? It's that simple. Like, it's that simple. I promise you, over time, like, should I pull up the chart again to like repeat myself? Like,
no.
Like, guys, the data speaks for itself. Like, don't trust me. Listen, don't trust me at all. Look at the data yourself. Go priced in Bitcoin. Houses priced in Bitcoin. Eggs priced in Bitcoin. Look at the data. It all gets cheaper. So anyhow.
Anyways, unlike Garry Stevenson, I love rich people. So shouts out to Mexico Huddle for the other $20 super chat. And he goes, want to take a moment to share some heart to two of my favorite Mexicans. There's only one Mexican here, okay? Keep up the good work, boys, or whatever you identify as. Thank you. Yes, he love rich people. Let's go.
Appreciate it. All right, everybody. Well, we're going to hit the culture. If you guys are enjoying the show, 2,800 of you guys watching live between YouTube and X, 567 people watching live on YouTube, 2,278 watching live on X, and 220 of you guys watching live on Rumble. If you guys are enjoying today's show, make sure to smash that like button. We are going to hit the culture segment. We're going to be right back in just 1 second.
I want to give a shout out to our partner, HIVE Digital Technology. Why HIVE in 2025? Unstoppable growth. As the first ever public miner, HIVE's position to quadruple their global footprint, making them one of the world's fastest growing miners in 2025. And with elite operations that consistently top the industry in Bitcoin mined per exahash, HIVE's now headquartered in the USA. They're lean and mean, they're green and clean, and they're rewriting the playbook on sustainable Bitcoin mining. You can catch the latest buzz at HIVE Digital Tech or at HIVEdigitaltech.com. I want to give a shout out to our partner, BitcoinBend.io. If you're into freedom, Bitcoin, and building a real community, this is for you. Gain exclusive access to real-world, members-only, private clubs across the globe, featuring poker nights, expert-led classes, co-working spaces, educational meetups, live events, and more. Current locations include Sarasota, Nashville, Boston, Dallas, Las Vegas, and St. Louis. with new clubs launching soon in West Palm Beach, Scottsdale, Alabama, and beyond. Not to mention Bitcoin Ben's resorts in El Salvador. There's 3 of them, and they're absolutely beautiful. You'll also get access to the first fully backed Bitcoin bank with fiat ramps and savings accounts. It's called Private Key Bank, and you guessed it, it's based out of El Salvador. Go peer-to-peer with Bitcoin bulk buys. Tap into home equity for long-term Bitcoin growth, and join their exclusive mining pools if you're interested in mining. What are you waiting for? Head over to bitcoinben.io. Join today, where Bitcoin meets freedom.
All right, guys.
Are we doing paid group?
No, we're not chart boying. This is not chart boying. I saw Willy Woo tweet this over weekend, and it is a bit concerning, to say the least. And actually, Nico, this might be the time when you go find the cold card, but whatever. It doesn't. Yeah.
I'll be right back.
All right. I'll rip this. And I'll yell so you can hear me. So, what am I showing you? Nico's trolling me that I'm doing my paid group, but I'm not. Willy Woo did this chart here, or actually, this is on Glassnode. But he tweeted, he goes, since spot ETFs became available, the growth rate of self-custody users has been in decline, breaking a 15-year trend. So you can see the white line here is the Bitcoin price, and then you can see the Bitcoin entities net growth, basically people holding their own Bitcoin, and you can see the the point where BlackRock ETFs launched, and it seems to be falling off a cliff. And so anyways, as you guys know here, what we always advocate on the show is it's cool to get Bitcoin exposure. You know, maybe that's your first step. That's how you kind of get your toes into this market. Again, time in the market beats timing the market. You know, I love anyone that is willing to take the leap and get some Bitcoin exposure, you know, get into the market. But you're not done unless you're taking that Bitcoin into personal custody. Self-custody is the revolution. Taking custody of your Bitcoin personally is the revolution. And as we're seeing, there has been a lot of conversation of where is retail? Retail's not here. Retail's asleep. A lot of probably the new retail money is going into these ETFs, which basically means that no one is taking, or these new entrants aren't taking custody of their Bitcoin. And now we kind of have the data to prove that a lot of the capital that is flowing into the market is going into these ETFs, and it's obviously a different type of investor. So everyone on this video right now, you need to do the homework. You need to take your Bitcoin into custody, because the data is showing that people aren't taking it into custody. Obviously, there's a whole new investor, quote unquote, investor in Bitcoin. There's a whole new kind of ideal customer at the moment right now, and it's probably people buying, you know, corporate treasuries or ETFs. But we're seeing the numbers drop in regards to people taking custody of their Bitcoin, and that needs to improve. As we always say, you know, first, get Bitcoin exposure. Second, you're not done until you take that Bitcoin into custody. And third is, of course, you probably want to run a node so you can verify that you are actually receiving real coin. Now, on that same trend, we are seeing that retail is kind of waking up. We've been showing you the Google Trends for a while. It was absolutely asleep. Now it looks like more people are Google searching to buy Bitcoin. So right now we are seeing retail come into the market. Yes, it's the beginning. Yes, it's probably just the start of this, but we are starting to get more data that retail is showing up. They're just not showing up exactly how we probably showed up in the past. And I think that just kind of goes to show that we, as not just us here at Simply Bitcoin, but every one of you guys as an individual with your friends and your family, we have to continue to emphasize self-custody. Yes, it's kind of like there's steps to this. You probably don't want to just tell your dad, like, you know, buy 100K and instantly take it into self-custody. You probably want to do this at like...
That's a bad idea.
Yeah, you probably want to do this in like baby steps, but it goes to show a lot of people coming into the space are just coming for the fiat price gains, and we need to work on getting more people to take custody of their Bitcoin. So as we're starting to kind of mature and evolve, and also the nation state land on our front door, we got to remember to tell people to take custody of their Bitcoin, because if you're not custodying your Bitcoin, end up in a position like gold was in the past. Like, this is why we constantly say that custody of your Bitcoin is the revolution. You need to hold that Bitcoin directly. You need to control your own money. So this is kind of a worrying data point here that we're not really seeing more addresses on chain on mainnet. A lot of the capital seemingly going into the ETFs, and maybe people are selling some of their Bitcoin to go into ETFs and treasuries right now. So kind of a buzzkill to end today's show. Not gonna lie, but it's a very important PSA.
Yeah, I mean, and it's super cultural. It's very, very important that I want, because. Oh, sorry, Opti. Could you put the
wrong line? Here we go.
Like, that is extremely troubling, guys. Guys, I'm telling you that, like, you guys have to understand something. Nothing changes unless individuals take custody of their Bitcoin, because they're going to do it the exact same thing they did to gold. The exact same thing. I wouldn't be surprised, and we were actually, Opti and I were actually joking about this before we went on air. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw 22 or 23 million Bitcoin officially.
I said 42.
I wouldn't be surprised if we saw 22 or 23 million Bitcoin. Now, is it because there's 23 or 24 million Bitcoin? No. But because there's more Bitcoin than there actually is. And that's what paper Bitcoin is, right? And the only way you protect yourself from this, and by the way, like, I like what certain on-ramps are doing. I like what certain ETFs are doing. I like what certain institutions are doing, where they're making, like, the Tether guys. Shout out to Paulo. Like, the Tether Bitcoin address is public. We see the 94,000 Bitcoin in that address. The El Salvador Bitcoin Reserve, it's public. We see how much Bitcoin is in that address. Every ETF should have a public address that people can see on the chain. That's the only way these things change. And by the way, the revolution, the change, fails completely if individuals don't reclaim their financial sovereignty from currency debasement and take that Bitcoin into self-custody. If enough of the population does that, the world will fundamentally change for the better. I would say it's between 7 and 20% of the population. So we still have a long way to go. So I see V for Vendetta in the chat. If you guys are intimidated by self-custody, go to our friends over at Bitcoin Way, the Bitcoin Way. Tell them Simply Bitcoin send you. Check out our sponsors. Literally, all our sponsors, guys, are like they're meant for you guys to help you on your Bitcoin journey. This is a cold card. You go to coldcard.com, use promo code Simply, you get 5% off. You get yourself one of the best Bitcoin hardware wallets in the game. You take self-custody with this thing, right? So
take self-custody.
And then eventually you want to run a node, but it's a little bit more complicated. I would say the primary, the essentials. I would say this. I'm going to say it. I think we had someone who came on the show and said this. You are not a real Bitcoiner unless your Bitcoin is in self-custody. You're not a real Bitcoiner. If you have a Bitcoin IOU and exposure to Bitcoin through an institution, listen, all the power to you, but you don't know Bitcoin. And that Bitcoin isn't yours. It's an IOU towards you, but it's not yours. If you want actual sovereignty, take self-custody of your Bitcoin. Is it easy? Yes and no. Is it easier than sending a wire transfer? Yes. Is it easy? If you can make a sandwich, if you could take care of a child, you could take self-custody of your money. Okay? It's not that complicated. It's literally not rocket science. And then after, you could go down the rabbit hole of running a node, which these days it's really not that hard. Like, check out our boys at Start9. Like, literally, like, you can buy one that's fantastic, pre-made, plug and play, bam, bing, bam, boom, you have a node.
I just replugged mine in,
right.
After the move. I'm hyped.
So, check out our boys over at Start9. The link's in the video /podcast description. So, I mean, boys and gals.
Girls.
Boys
Boomers.
Boys and gals. Take this seriously, because if not, all that what we've done these last 16 years has been for nothing. And they're just going to paper the F out of this thing. And you know what they do? What happens when they paper the F out of this thing? The price ain't going up, bro. This is literally what they did to gold, right? So take this seriously. Keep your head on a swivel. And I love you guys. V for Vendetta saying self-custody is very easy. I agree, V.
It's just a learning curve.
I agree, V, but at the same time, like, man, I've been in this game as long as you have, bro. Like, for some people, I think convenience is like very, very tempting, and they just don't want to put in the work. If you put in the work, I do agree with V. It is extremely easy. So yeah, head over to the BitcoinWay.com. Those our friends over there will help you get set up with self-custody. Do it. Love you guys. Appreciate it. Smash the like button if you guys enjoyed today's fantastic show. V says generational wealth is only possible when you hold your own Bitcoin. I completely agree. Love you all for tuning in today. It's been a fantastic show. Smash that like button. Go enjoy your family. Go get some sun. And of course, we'll be back tomorrow for another episode of Simply Bitcoin Live.
Today's episode was brought to you by BitcoinWell.com, a Bitcoin-only platform on a mission to enable financial independence.